Hey friends, welcome to the Victor Marx podcast with Victor Marx, founder of All Things Possible Ministries. Welcome to the show where we bring you real conversations facing life's hard truths, stories of redemption, and the latest from the front lines. Whether you're on the road, getting your day started, or finally settling in, we've got an exciting new episode planned for you. So let's dive into today's show.
Joining us now is Victor Marx. He's the director of a ministry called All Things Possible. He's an advocate, an agent for the rescue and restoration of victimized children. He travels around the world sharing his story and rescuing those in very dangerous situations. Victor, it's always great to have you. Welcome back.
Great to be here, Dr. Clinton.
Hey, Victor, we're talking about the war on men. I want to go back.
Yeah.
You have a unique story. Victor, you know what it's like to be on the receiving end of someone's anger, someone's rage. You know what it's like to be abused as a kid. And there's no doubt in my mind that's why God's called you this high-risk ministry that you do. But Victor, take us back. Tell us a little bit about what it was like to be on the receiving end, and then how you took it and turned what was meant for evil for good.
Yeah, you know what? I think I was able to really see the reality of what they would call toxic masculinity, right? Which is often birthed in just insecurity. And then a man's heart that's not controlled by God's spirit, evil can come. So I was at the receiving end of it, both physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. And that created a real hardness in me and a distrust. And probably more than anything, a lack of understanding of, well, what is a real man? Because that desire never left me. I just didn't see the right, people would say, role models. But what I've found in all these years now, how God redeemed it working with young men and actually some of the most elite warriors in our country is they need real models, not just role models, but real men to be an example, to lead, to teach, to correct, to challenge, and help them step into the role that they were created to be, which is moral, masculine manhood.
Yeah. You know, when David spoke to Solomon, he said, show yourself a man. In other words, be a man. Victor, you're a big voice when it calls men to be men. You want men to really be men, to harness their power. You've got a problem with this feminization of men. You've got a problem with the shaming and the silencing and all that stuff that's going out there and trying to just shove men down or to castigate them, put them in boxes as dumb, disengaged, etc. No. You're saying no. Be a man. Let's talk about what it's like to be a man. Victor, give us a run on what's in your heart there.
Well, I think the scripture, be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, and let all you do be done in love. 1 Corinthians 16, 13, and 14. I mean, right there, we're given our marching orders to be watchful. For what? We're in a war. We're in a war right now. And a man without a mission is at the mercy of his own flesh, this world, and the devil. And God exhorts us. You just need to act like men. And I even like in another part of the holy text says we're not just mere men. So what so many of these movies in our modern day, the Avengers and whatnot, that draw the heart of men, God is saying you're not just a mere man. You can overcome the temptation of your flesh, your carnality, and you can be victorious over the devil. See, like in my days of training in martial arts and combatives, I never saw a person more motivated. I mean, literally more motivated after they've been bopped, punched, beat up, whatnot. I could tell when they would come in to train. I'd go, all right, And sometimes it was just guys who were picked on as kids, and now they're a little bit older and they want training. So there is a radical war for the heart of man to minimize its effect on our culture. That is dangerous. I mean, that's dangerous in our culture, even outside of a spiritual aspect. So what ends up happening, I think the lack of men the enemy, he will absolutely encourage women to step into that role. And they do that naturally. I mean, naturally, which I'm all for women being tough, able, capable, princess warriors. But when they start seeking to fill the role of a man, uh, what is the extreme of it? It's all the way to the perversion of sexual desire that God has intended for man and woman. And you see it. Roman talks about it. I just saw where another Christian, I would say, influencer, both as an author and an editor for, I think, a Christian magazine, who has influenced Christians for quite some time, came out and said, I'm gay. I'm tired of living in shame, and I'm going for it. And he's divorcing his wife. And you know what's sad about that is she's supporting him. She's like saying, yeah, this is how he's made. And I go, well, there you have, again, the ultimate perversion of masculinity and manhood. And we're better than that. And our culture and our country and our world needs solid biblical men. So what do we do? There's a whole host of young men out there who are, still living in their parents' basements, playing video games. And I just call that raw material. Yeah, it's aggravating because we want to see them productive and making an impact, but it's raw masculinity. Now we need to forge them into really formidable weapons. And that's the process of bringing them into manhood.
When we talk about being a man, Victor, people talk about protectors, providers, all kinds of terms like that. You're training men. You're training men to bring back some toughness, to also, by the way, be uninhibited when it comes to love and reaching out and being a great dad, a great husband, to honor women and so much more. Victor, all that comes together in one place. That's where this thing's supposed to go. Tell me what you're doing. Tell us what you're doing with your trainings and more. It's big time stuff.
Yeah, we have a training center in Colorado Springs, and it's a culmination of 3 decades of working and helping young men to become men and having men become the fullness of what God has created them to be. But I think helping those find out what their gifts and talents are, putting ruggedness in their soul, teaching them how important it is to have conflict in real world and then work through it, and giving them a little bit of spine, because there's too much jelly spine in today's culture. And I see it among even Christian pastors and leaders. And I just go, man, people be careful, because just because a person is a pastor doesn't mean he's a leader of men. So I really think, our teams are comprised of wide variety, from missionaries with 2 decades in very harsh areas to tier 1 operators from the special operations community, and pouring into challenging, really challenging, because you have to have that. You have to have some challenge in young men's life, telling them how the cow eats the cabbage, but also encouraging them, building them up when they do well. And look, I travel to bases even now, military bases, and I'm speaking to drill instructors who are training our next generation of warriors. And we apply the principles of accept responsibility, reject passivity, don't fold and melt under hardship, but let that mold you to be the person and the man that God's created you to be, so you can be someone who protects, provides, will pursue a woman and constantly pursue her. I know you just celebrated 40 years, and congratulations to you.
Thank
but
you.
Isn't it key, Doc, that we pursue our wives' hearts?
Yes.
Because, man, so many of these young men, they're fearful to get married because what they've seen in older generations of their parents and their parents' friends not making it. So God has made us to love one woman. God has created us to fight a battle, and ultimately it's between good and evil. And I really believe that if older men take and provide the framework of raising young men to be solid men who learn to face fear with courage. That's the hope for America because it's biblically based and it's needed right now. I mean, we can't wait. We can't plan for the future. It has to happen now. But our training center out in Colorado Springs, if people want more information,
Yes.
they can go to victormarx.com. That's Marx with an X and / training.
Right.
And I mean, we're having people sign up right now for courses and weekends, and not only do we work with men, but we also work with couples because my wife, our motto is learn to fight back to back, not nose to nose. So helping husbands to become better, and life is better when you've got purpose and passion and
Together.
you're doing and being. Oh, I mean, life is so much better.
Victor, evil's real. It's lurking.
Yeah.
It's going to challenge us every day. We need to harness who we are as a power for good. That's what this is all about. Victor Marx, thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. We'd love to stay connected with you and invite you to the conversation beyond this podcast. You can check out more of the work we're doing around the world at victormarx.com, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all linked in the show notes. Be sure to drop us a comment in the review section if today's show has impacted you in any way, or if there's anything you'd like to hear more of. We're always encouraged to hear from you. Thanks for spending your time with us. Until next time.